Captain Midnight.
So, after taking a little vacation last week, I wanted to jump back in with a short video about an MCU project that I honestly hadn't paid much attention to when it was in production, and knew almost nothing about going in. Werewolf by Night. For those who don't know, Giacchino is a really prolific composer who has worked in the MCU before, including Spider-Man Homecoming. But he has a track record that goes back decades now, from great film scores like Up.
Okay, I didn't actually know he did Homecoming. I knew he was a composer. I'd heard that. I didn't know he did Homecoming though. That's pretty dope. That's awesome. That's a little different than what I thought. See, I thought he was doing other things. I thought that he did other things. I wasn't aware that he did Spider-Man Homecoming. Oh. Huh. Huh. Wow. Huh. Wow.
The Batman, to the TV project that I'll always associate him with most, Lost. So even though I've been pretty harsh on the...
That's what I knew he did. I forgot what it was. That's why I did that whole thing. I couldn't remember what it was. Batman. I knew he did Batman. Damn it!
Werewolf by Night does a pretty great job of making the argument that actually horror can work here.
Damn straight. The way that they still keep it TV-14 and like the way that they zoom in on her eyes and the way that they use screams. You want to find certain things that make your blood curdle that isn't like traditionally terrifying, like blood and gore and shit. Like they use like the terror in the eyes, like using like nails, like and using like the screams of the forest. You know, they're using things that make you go, you know, they're making your bones rattle. It's so scary.
The final 20 minutes or so is where Werewolf really shines, from the monster transformation scene, which lingers on Elsa's horrified face, to Jack taking out an entire room of monster hunters. The action here just doesn't feel like typical MCU stuff, which I think is really smart and necessary.
I'm gonna say it. I like the whole let's use a color inside of black and white. I like that idea. I like it. I'm a fan of it. I've done it before. I did a Christmas special where a guy sang Silent Night in this big church. His jacket was blue and it was beautiful. It was black and white, but a blue jacket. It was wonderful. But this is what I want to say. Stop using red. Stop. Just stop. M. Night Shyamalan's always like red. Schindler's List. There's so many other examples of things that are black and white, and then there's just like, they're like, but one color, red. And you don't need it to be red every time. You don't need it to be red every time. Now I used blue. You could try using blue. I think it's cool because it's blue.
Fairly or unfairly, I've always kind of thought of him as low-rent Swamp Thing. Sure, Man-Thing debuted first, but he never really got an incredible Alan Moore run like his swampy counterpart. I should finally dig into his history more, but as a non-fan, I did like the MCU spin on him here, even if it seems pretty different from the original character. He almost functions as the Chewbacca to Jack Russell's Han Solo. Their scene at the end in color, the only full scene not in black and white, set up a really charming and engaging dynamic, and one that I hope to see again in the MCU.
And that's the classic Marvel move of like, let's show a little bit of something to see if we can make more of it. And they did that there, and it worked so well. People vibe. People are vibing.
Speaking of black and white though, there is one complaint I had here that didn't exactly surprise me, but I do think it's a fair criticism to bring up. And that's the fact that even though the special goes to such great lengths to bring to mind old Universal monster movies like The Wolfman, now I don't expect MCU projects to be shot on film. Obviously, most things aren't these days. But I think that would have gone such a long way here. They apparently scanned it out in 35mm to try to get it as close as possible, but it still looks very, very digital to me.
Yeah.
Which isn't to say that it looks bad, just that it reminds me a lot more of the final season of Better Call Saul than like Bride of Frankenstein or The Invisible Man. And I would have loved it if they had just fully embraced shooting on film instead.
My guess is because they needed to make it on a budget, and if they were going to use film, it'd be a whole other lighting setup. They put a lot of their budget into their set, you can tell. Probably put a lot of money into Man-Thing because Lord knows they're trying to get their VFX artists' morale back. And I'm not super upset about it. I would have liked to see it on film for sure because film is just a vibe. And I'm not upset about it because they did pull it off. They did pull it off. The good performances, the good characters, the right music, the right cinematography, like getting like good examples of old films, you know, getting that good nostalgia, no one fucking cares that it's shot on digital because they did the damn thing.
I'm sure it's for budgetary reasons, but if you're going to commit to the film bit, why not do so fully? Back to the characters though, I have to say going into this, I was not all that familiar with Elsa Bloodstone. I think at some point in the 2000s, I wrote her off as Marvel trying to cash in on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and didn't give her much of a chance, which I guess means that's another comic series I should probably go back to. Here, she's played by Laura Donnelly, who I...
So that flip she just does, that's some Black Widow shit, right? She said like, well, I got training from other places. And then she does some Black Widow shit? Is she a Black Widow? So, red circle there. Easter egg, spoiler, Easter egg alert, Black Widow, I think she is.
I like the specific angle they took with her character. Someone who is running away from their family history, even as it hangs over her entire life. We only got a taste of her backstory here, but I thought it was really cleverly used.
And I love the monologue that Jack has, the werewolf, that he has about family. In the tomb, it says about family like being like an atmosphere around you. His performance when she says, did it work? Has it worked before? And then he like looks down and he like gathers himself. It said everything. So much past in the way that he said it. He was so good. He was great. Good performance.
Had her trapped in the family tomb.
Loved it.
With Elsa knowing the family lore so well that she knew what relative was buried with the key. Honestly, I could see this character carrying another...
Hated that. Liked a lot of things. That's one of the things I hated. I didn't like it, and I wish it didn't happen. She's just like, oh, wait a second. Actually, I remembered there are keys in here, so let's get out. I was like, really? Really? That's not how you play this game. That's not how you play this game. I don't care if that's how it works in real life. This is art. All right, it's a game. You're playing a game. Not really. That's not really what art is, but you know what I'm saying.
A really simple premise that it executes well, and I think it points to an interesting possibility for the MCU as a whole. While many Disney Plus shows have felt overly bloated, this was tight, enjoyable, and a lot of fun throughout. It left me wanting more in the best possible way. That's just something I'd like to see a lot more of on Disney Plus. An idea for one story that's unique and not all that connected to the films. It also gives me hope that despite the problems with Blade, there is a way the MCU could nail the horror side of Marvel that's often flourished in the comics, but rarely gets a chance to shine.
I think they will. I think they will. You can tell that they're trying to tell us that we want this to work. They used Doctor Strange too, the way that they did the horror elements there, and they have Logan and Deadpool now. And I know they didn't make it, but they're appreciating it for what it is and they're giving it its place. I think they're gonna get weird and wacky and icky and yucky, and I'm super excited for it.
I mean, Tomb of Dracula is honestly one of the best things they've ever published, but it rarely gets the love of Spider-Man or Iron Man.
Dracula shit too. I'm about a Marvel Dracula film. Don't make him funny. I swear to God, Marvel, if you make him funny, I'm gonna be pissed. Oh, I'm gonna be pissed if you make him funny. Go see all the stuff that he's got. Go check him out, Captain Midnight.